Hello everyone, my name is Misty Fiello, aka the Mediocre Pacemaker Runner. This is my first ever YouTube video. I just finished this morning running my long run for the week, and I got a shower and I'm just relaxing, resting after that long run. I have completed 4 half marathons. My first ever half marathon I ran in February of 2020 in a time of 2 hours and 45 minutes. My last half marathon I ran in December in a time just over 2 hours and 15 minutes. I am a completely average runner. As a matter of fact, I think 2 hours and 15 minutes is the average half marathon finish time. So, completely average runner. However, I am very proud of that finish time. Becoming an average runner has been a really long, hard road for me. So, if you would like to overcome some adversity in your life to become a mediocre recreational athlete, this is the video for you. First, I want to give you a little backstory. I was born in 1979 with a cleft lip. Like a lot of people born in the 70s and 80s with facial deformities, I was also born with heart disease that went undiagnosed. I was in my mid-30s. My kids were 2 and 4, and I really hit the dirt hard. I was tired all the time. I was irritated all the time. I think at some point doctors thought I had blood clots in my legs. I had really bad varicose veins. My legs were purple. I could hardly take the dogs for a walk around the block. I think, like for a lot of people with chronic illness, you start to feel bad very gradually. So you kind of accept a certain level of, well, of course I'm tired all the time. I have 2 little boys. Of course I don't feel well. I'm getting older. You just start to think that these things are normal. But at some point, I couldn't dismiss how I was feeling anymore, and I had to admit that something was wrong. And at that point, my resting heart rate was less than 20 beats per minute. I really think if I hadn't admitted to myself that I was sick, that I probably would have died. Anyway, so I went to go see a cardiologist, and in October of 2015, I received a pacemaker implant for complete heart block. After that, I felt better almost immediately. I remember as I was kind of recovering after the surgery, I was like, man, this is how normal people feel all the time. I think I could start running again, which was part of the reason. So I used to be very athletic. Part of the reason why the issue with my heart wasn't diagnosed is because every time I would go to see a doctor, they'd say, well, are you an athlete? I'd say, oh yeah, I'm on the swim team, or oh yeah, I'm on the track team. Or after that, after high school, I joined the military. That's how I put myself through college. So my doctors always said, instead of saying, let's look into why your heart rate is so low, they would always just say, oh, you have exercise-induced bradycardia, and send me on, about my day. So immediately I felt better after I had the pacemaker implant. But so I said, I'm going to start running again. But it was years, I think maybe 3 or 4 years later before I actually successfully started to run again. So what I'd like to share with you guys is 3 tips on how you can overcome chronic illness or some adversity in your life to start a running program. The number 1 tip is just to get started. However, you need to accept where you are at the time. So for me, what I would do is I would say, I should be able to run 3 miles. I used to run. I used to be very athletic. 3 miles seems like a very easy workout to me. And so I would go out for a 3-mile run, and obviously I wouldn't be able to do it. And I would give up and come home and just, I can't run anymore. And then 2 weeks or a month later, I would try again, and I would fail miserably, and I would give up and I can't run anymore. It was only after I started to realize that, okay, I'm not going to be able to go out and run 3 miles, but I'm going to do what I can do now. My husband bought me a spin bike, kind of a knockoff of a Peloton for my birthday one year. And I started to ride the spin bike. I would do like 10 minutes one day, 15 minutes the next day, just sort of every day I'd get on it and I'd do what I could do for that day. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it just started to build. And then I started walking. And then I decided that I was going to do a Couch to 5K program. My first running workout that I successfully completed after the pacemaker implant was a 5-mile walk, a 2-mile run, and a 5-mile walk. But it was a step in the right direction. And from there, I just built on top of that and progressed into being a stronger runner with more endurance. I will say that when I was doing the Couch to 5K program, there were some weeks where I just wasn't ready to go to the next week. So I had like maybe a 10-week program. I'd get to week 3 and I'd be like, oh, I'm not ready for week 4. So I just repeated week 3 until I felt ready for week 4. So it's really important that you just get started, but you accept that you are where you're at, and don't get discouraged and expect, because you're not here, that you're just going to give up. Whatever, I'm not going to do it because I can't do what I think I should be able to do. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that you sort of don't expect yourself to be an expert, or don't think that you need to be an expert, or that you need to have access to an expert. I'm not like completely in the dark. I have a biology and chemistry background, so I have a science background. I can read articles about running and kind of understand what they're talking about. Most of my work experience is industrial and environmental, but I'm not completely in the dark when I read a research article or I watch a video where somebody's talking about physiology. And I have access to my doctors. That being said, so I say you don't need access to an expert, but absolutely, if you have a chronic illness, you should get clearance from your doctor before you start any exercise program. But I also live in South Mississippi, so while my cardiologist, my nurses, they're all very good at what they do, I don't have access to any cardiologist or cardiology group that is oriented directly to athletes. So, so like, for example, I went in one time, and then there are some of my nurses are very athletic and work out all the time, and I have conversations with them and I get advice from them. But I went in one time and I had a nurse that I don't normally have, and she was taking notes in a recorder. Just, I talked to the patient, whatever, this just so that she could probably go back to it later and write it in my chart. And in the recorder, she said, I encourage the patient to continue her healthy, low sodium, low fat, heart healthy diet. And then I said, I had recently lost like 40 pounds. It was striking. Like I got better so quickly once I got back into running that every time I went to the doctor, they would just be shocked. So I had recently lost a lot of weight. And I said to her that I wasn't on any particular diet that I need to be. And she said, oh, well, you just lost 40 pounds. Obviously, you're on a heart healthy diet. I said, I'm a runner. I eat a ton of salt. I'm not on a low sodium diet. I'm not on a low fat diet. She said, you just lost 40 pounds. You're on a healthy diet for you. And it was mind-boggling to me that somebody in the healthcare industry could take that stance, because I had lost a lot of weight because I had started focusing on nutrition and had started focusing on exercise, and she was right. The reason I lost that weight is because I started eating right. But I mean, I could have lost that weight for other reasons, because I was stressed, because I was drinking black coffee and not eating anything all day and smoking cigarettes. I mean, it's entirely possible. But I guess really what I'm getting at with that story is that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have access to experts in order to start a running program. What you really need is grit and a willingness to troubleshoot. So what I mean by that, like we have the world at our fingertips these days. So you can go to YouTube or you can go to Google and Pinterest. I always say that wrong. It is pin your interest. Anyway, you can go to Pinterest and you can search, hey, this is my goal that I have and how do I get there? As long as you're realistic. I mean, obviously I wouldn't say I got a pacemaker implanted yesterday. How do I pacemaker to half marathon? But as long as you're realistic with your goals and you step them up slowly, you can go to the internet and build a running program. So like I would say for somebody just starting out, you could say, how do I get to where I can run a mile continuously without stopping? Or how do I do a couch to 5K? And I recommend that when you start working toward that goal, that you keep a running journal. I just go to, I think I got these from Dollar General for like $2 or $3. And I like these because you can, as you're building your plan, you can go to the front of the book. And there are all these pages with like blank calendars where you can fill in, you can say, you can look at a plan on the internet, you can build how it fits into your schedule. On Monday, I'm gonna do a walk run workout. On Wednesday, I'm gonna do a walk run workout, and on Friday, I'm gonna do a walk run workout, and maybe implement some strength training, or maybe the rest of your days are rest days. And then in the back of the book, there's room for taking notes. So that's where you do your troubleshooting, and I think that's super, super important in order for you to start getting better as you start to build an exercise program after chronic illness. And then you really, like, this is for you. It's like a diary. So the more honest you are, the more you're going to get out of it. So I probably even have some days where I'm like, if I eat a cheeseburger and a beer on Friday, then Saturday is the worst long run of my life. Or I only got 4 hours of sleep and the speed session was terrible. So the more honest you are in your journal, the better you're going to get, especially if you go back to those notes and you learn from those mistakes, just like in a laboratory. I did this and this didn't go well. Or I did this and everything went great that day. And you start to really kind of move in the direction that your notes are telling you to go in. So number 3, I would say, is that you should never let your excuses keep you from your goals. So I don't mean your excuse of, I have a pacemaker so I can't be a runner. Obviously, you're already past that. Like, if you started looking into starting a running program after chronic illness or after receiving a pacemaker, you're already past, I can't run because I have a pacemaker. But if you think life is only going to hand you one lemon, you are kidding yourself. So as you get started, if you want to give in to excuses, you can. So let me give you an example. So I'll give you 2 examples. I had already decided I was getting back into running with my pacemaker. I was gonna just buckle down and do everything it took, as slow as it might go. Eventually, I was going to be able to run a 5K. And then after I reached that goal, I was going to be able to run a 10K. And after I reached that goal, I was going to be able to run a half marathon. So I had overcome the initial, what was holding me back. But I have 2 little boys. And like most parents, I love them more than anything. They make my life worthwhile. Well, they make my life worth living. I mean, the way everyone feels about their kids. Despite what it did to me health-wise, not that that's what did it to me, but that's that was the stressor that brought my heart disease, out in the open, was having children. I would do it again, 1,000 times over. However, because I have 2 little boys, I sneeze. I pee when I sneeze, and I pee when I run. And I could very easily say, well, that's too embarrassing. I have to run out because I have children at home. When I run, I have to run in my neighborhood. Oh, I'm not running in front of my neighbors. I might pee my pants, and that's totally embarrassing. Or I could go down to my local Walmart and I could get poise pads, and I can choose to run anyway. And then another example, last year I was out running and I was running 1 mile repeats. So I was running kind of some speed work, a pretty aggressive session. And I realized on that run that I have a pretty serious exercise-induced allergy to grass. And that's a pretty good reason to stop running, right? Oh, if I run, I could die a little. Or I could go see my doctor or see an allergist and get some EpiPens and take some, once a day Zyrtec and run anyway. If you want to run, then you will overcome all of the excuses not to run. And then if you don't want to run, then whatever, let the excuses stop you, and hopefully you're doing something else to keep moving. So that's it in a nutshell. My 3 tips for overcoming chronic illness to start a running program. Number 1 is that you just have to get started, accepting that you are where you're at the time. Number 2, that you realize that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be a running expert. You don't have to hire a running coach when you're just getting started. Number 3 is that you don't let your excuses stop you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please click the like and subscribe button, and that way when I upload another video, you'll get a notice. Also, if you have a similar story, please leave if you have some tips that I didn't mention, please leave a comment below. And yeah, thanks for watching today. Until the next video, keep moving and remember how lucky you are.